Hello? We're back. Am I actually back? Let me go here, algorithm bandit. Is that streaming again? Yeah? Is that going? All I see is a loading screen. Yes? Yes? Okay, cool. Fun. So my computer just crashed. I had a bit too aggressive of an overclock on it, I guess. So fun. Fortunately, I wasn't installing anything at the time, so I don't think anything's corrupted. Everything's copied over that needs to be copied over. Okay, Tyler. That's where do I still have the same IP address? 85. I do not. I do not. You configure that. Or rather, I need to change the port forwarding because the IP of the VM changed. Sec and port forwarding. Ooh. 5? Is that the magic number? Yes. Add. Yes. 3. 5. 3. Add. Apply. Yes. Okay, so we still have all of that. Manage MapDataFetcher migration. Okay. Let's try this again. We need the magic. We need the magic words. Repository. And this crap. But I guess I do. Yes, I have to. Yeah. Is that all correct? SHC. Tapped. Have the repos apps. Must be release CS. Oh. One word. Nothing pgdg. Consider app sources.list.d pgdg.list. Yes. Okay. Get. Org media keys a ACC 4C F8.asc. Okay. Yeah, update. install PostgreSQL. I think that's what I said, yeah. Yes, yes. Cool. Now we're getting ourselves a Postgres. Is the audio still working on this? Looks like it. It says I can start the database server using that. It looks like it's already running, so... or maybe I have to do that, cluster 10 main start. Is that going to ask me to... No? So how do I... What's the username and password supposed to be on this thing? Yeah. Servers, create server, my .dev, that connection, that username, save? Oh, I need to update the hosts. Let's see. Windows, System 32, drivers, etc. Update this, Explorer. Volume here. 5. That's what it needs to be. My computer crashed and everything restarted and it got a different IP. But now it is updated. So let's try this again. No. Postgres allow external connections. This over here as well. So I just Googled. That was it. It doesn't really matter how experienced you are. Google is still your best friend. Is that going to be in the right PGC? No. Postgres. Hello. Find select that name postgresql.com. Postgres and main postgresql.conf. Okay, so I'm not going to be doing much in here, just trying to make it so that we can access stuff, but for an actual Vault server Postgres deployment, you're going to want to use some Postgres configuration tool. pgTune. This is the one I used? Yeah, this is the one I used at first, so it's just put in the version, give this other info, 4 gigabytes, sure, however many, whatever, 25 connections, generate. And then you can just kind of copy and paste this into your into this config file. Get some decent performance improvements, especially if you're on SSD. I need to find listen addresses. Okay. Our preferably would be localhost. now, let me do it. Postgres, connect, save. Nope. Control status. PostgreSQL. Black. Did I enter that did I enter all of that incorrectly? Is this wrong? Send address equals star PostgreSQL. I'm just trying to be able to, so we've got Postgres on the server, but I'm trying to connect to it. Okay. So now I can connect. Postgres default user. Is there something else I need to change? Probably. Listen addresses, pgHBA. This is probably very insecure. So that setting should probably not stick around for long. But I'm gonna do it anyway. ghba.com. Post. No. Can I not? Save. Well, so what I did just now probably isn't good because it's too permissive. Postgres password authentication failed. Is it just Postgres? No. Okay. Well, at least we can. Whoops. Try to connect now. User. Postgres and password. Yeah. I don't care. Except I'll go away. Stupid. Postgres. Super secure password. You. Hey, okay. Okay, now we have Postgres on here, on the server. Cool. So I could run the migration tool from my dev machine, but I'm going to run it from here. So I'm going to need, oops. Well, for one thing, actually, I need to make a user first for the vault. So login, create, TW.Vault again. Privileges, I don't know exactly what privileges are needed, so I'm just going to give it super user, just so I don't run into issues later on. Password, super secure password. You'll see how secure it is in a moment. Home, CD migration. Okay. chmod plus x TW.Vault.Migration. So if I do this, yep, connection string not provided. So I'm going to need to get that. Server localhost the vault. I think this is the right format. We've got to secure that password is database equals. Oh, I need to make a database. Yay. Vault owner TW vault vault migrations. Cool. Role TW vault. It's not allowed to log in. Hold up. Privileges. Oh, yeah, can log in. Oops. Let's again. There we go. Cool. Okay. So we needed to change this user to allow it to log in, but other than that, let's just run migration, give it the connection string, and it will initialize. Schemas. Very good. Very good. Okay. Got that in. Now I'm going to run. No, I was going to run the ConfigurationFetcher tool locally, but it would probably be better to properly build this, copy it over, and to show how it's meant to be used. .NET publish, C release, runtime Linux x64. I need to get WinSCP open again because I need to copy these files over. my.tylercamp.dev. Tyler, log in. Big Fetcher. Yep, that's been built. Release this, publish. Grab all of this. Yes. Q. Okay. Up. C. Big Fetcher. We need to do chmod so that we can actually run it. Let Linux know that this is supposed to be ran. Oh, ConfigurationFetcher, yes. ConfigurationFetcher. If we just run it, hey, one of the utilities actually has a nice help print thing. Okay, ConfigurationFetcher. So we need the connection strings. That's server equals localhost. User ID equals TW vault. Oops. Password equals password. Database equals vault. Okay, so that's the first argument. Extra TLD. TLD is short for top level domain. So that's something like tribalwars.net or tribalwars.co.uk and not something like n100.tribalwars.net. This is just tribalwars.net. So tribalwars.net. And this will pull all of the worlds from that tribalwars.net TLD. Let's see, what else? Extra server. I usually don't use that. I just use extra TLD. But if you want just a specific... Actually, you know what? I should use that. Extra server, because I don't want to have to wait forever to download all this stuff. So it's n123.tribalwars.net. That's what I'm going to start on, right? Here, yes, n123. Cool. Tribalwars.net. Clean. Well, I don't have any old servers, so I don't need to use clean. Fetch all, so that is if I ran this command right now and it registered world 123 from .NET servers, and then if I ran this command again, but instead just added fetch all instead of this extra server, it will go through the servers, it will find the world 123, and then it will find, okay, world 123 goes to this top level domain, and then it'll pull all of the servers from troublewars.net. So it's another way of doing like the extra TLD, but you don't need to specify extra TLD. It'll just fetch all of the latest stuff for all of the servers that you have registered. Fetch all, fetch old. Fetch old, right, that was mostly if the settings for a server was changed in the middle of playing. Usually this tool will download data for new servers, but it'll ignore existing servers. But if you do fetch old, it will also get the latest settings for all of the existing servers that you have and update things accordingly. And then sometimes if too many properties change, then it will consider that as a new server entirely. So for example, if the game speed or the unit speed options change, then that's a pretty good indicator that it's a new, just a fresh server, like the casual servers or speed servers. So if the config was changed substantially, then it will delete all of the old server stuff for that server and then just recreate it as though it was a new one. But that question of if the configuration changes too much, well, what does that mean, too much? What stuff? So that's what the reset on diff is meant for. So you can specify, well, deletes and recreates any worlds whose config differ on the given property. Default is game speed, unit speed, and so on. So you can change around the properties that it'll use to indicate as to whether the world needs to be regenerated from scratch. But these defaults worked fine for me in practice. I think that's everything here. So I'll just run that. Yes, right. So we need to put in this stuff again. D, yes. Now we have that world registered, but we still need to get data in there from that world. So we will go to MapDataFetcher. We'll also chmod +x so that we can actually run this thing. MapDataFetcher. DataFetcher, and if I just run it, right, it's going to fail. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to run this manually, actually. I'll do what we should be doing for proper server deployment, which is we will register all of these things as services that will run on startup. How do we do that? Good question. I don't remember, which is why it's a good thing that we have this dump of all these configs. So public vault snapshot, yeah, let's just open all of that. Okay, so all of the startup stuff is going to go into this, etc. systemd/system, and then we have to make a service entry for each of these. So I'm going to do that, micro, etc. systemd system, and then we can call it whatever we want. I'll just do TW map update.service. I honestly don't know how much of this stuff is actually required, but again, I'm just copying all this stuff over. Service, working directory, this is important. Home, Tyler, MapFetcher? Is that what it was called? Hold up. Yeah, MapFetcher. That's that. Exec start equals home Tyler MapFetcher TW.Vault.MapDataFetcher. We'll run that. Yes. And a note, if you apply all these configs and you have these services and then you get things running, then say you want to apply an update. So you stop the service and you swap out the files, and then you start the service again, but it doesn't work. Just need to make sure that if you update these files, you just have to run that chmod plus x command again. Because if you update the files, it's going to erase that little bit. But just a note. Okay. Restart always. Sure, sec equals 10. So, do I want to give it a different user? Not really. I don't recall if specifying a user is required, so I'm just gonna ignore that. SPNet core environment equals production. So now we're filling in some of the configuration stuff. I think this is required, maybe? I don't recall. I know if you set this to production, it disables like the debugging endpoints and whatnot, but maybe that's not entirely necessary. I do not remember what that .NET print telemetry message equals false. I don't remember what that does, but I'm going to set it anyway. Environment equals URLs equals. So this is how we're going to specify what ports this will be listening on. So this also works for the other Vault web applications. You can do this URLs equals whatever. Any host port 5020 equals connection strings vaults. Now this format of this name, connection strings __ vault, this is coming from some .NET Core configuration utility. If we look at the app settings.json, we see that there is this connection strings object here, and then that has a vault thing in here, and we assign it. And it does need to be vault. It is looking for this specific name, so you can't just name it to X. Keep that the same. But when it comes to specifying one of these things, if you wanted to do connection strings, you would just do connection strings equals whatever. But we want vault inside of connection strings. So inside of an object, we do 2 underscores. That's pretty much it. So now, we're specifying the connection string, server equals localhost, user ID TW.Vault, password equals password, database equals vaults. Oops. Okay. Some logging customizations. Meh. I'm not going to bother with the logging. Hashing, file path. Yeah, sure. Just do next level out. Environment equals data batch. Size equals 500. These last 2 parameters aren't really required, but I'm going to set them anyway. Wait a second, it's 300. And I don't remember, I think this install section is required to get it to run on start. I don't recall it. But anyway, okay, so we've got our service file. We're going to have to make one of those for each of the other services, which is annoying, but whatever. But we have that now, so we will do system to control enable, I think. No, system to control daemon reload. So that will, right. If we update the services, it won't apply immediately. And so to get it to apply, we have to do that daemon reload. System control enable TW map update. Okay. TW map update. Is that going to work? Okay, so start. So it didn't give an error. Status. Is this running? Hey, it is. Okay. So we hadn't ran that manually before. So previously we didn't have any like server data or anything in here. But yeah, we can see that it's doing stuff. Let's look in at the village data. Should be now. Hey, we got data. Cool. Okay. So now that service is running. And if we just reboot and it starts back up again, service should still be running. Let's see. So, oops, sudo I. Updater, is that what it was called? TW map update. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. That's running. Now let's repeat these steps for all the other stuff. So we're going to go back to home. Because this is just where I happen to copy the stuff. Yeah, we can see that there's now the logs folder that's coming from the MapFetcher. MapFetcher app settings.json. Gotcha. Right, so the default config, which I hadn't changed, puts those logs in this parent directory. I don't know. Other services might also be trying to use that logs folder later on. Maybe that might be a problem, but we'll see. I edited that the map updater at the least, but start the map updater. Anyway, so now we are moving on to manage. So we need to chmod plus x manage TW.Vault.Manage. Yep. And then once again, we need to add a service entry. TW.Manage.Service. Oh boy, here we go again. Unit. I could copy this over, but that would be smart. I don't want to be smart today. I'm not feeling like it. Sure. Whatever. Service, working directory, home, Tyler, manage, TW.Vault.Manage. No, that's not. Well, sort of. Start equals home, Tyler, manage, TW.Vault.Manage. Start always, we start sec 10, whatever. Oops. Production. I'm not going to bother with the telemetry thing. And it is important that we specify this URLs option, because otherwise all of this stuff will be trying to listen on port 5000 all at the same time, which is not going to work. So we need to separate those out. Connection strings, vault equals server equals localhost, vault, database equals vault. Wanted by equals target. Save, quit, reload, enable, W. status. Okay, and this is still my locally modified version without CAPTCHA. So if you wanted to do CAPTCHA, you would go right here, and then what is the config option for it? Manage, whoops, manage app settings, just CAPTCHA secret key. Okay, so in that case, you would add environment equals CAPTCHA secret key equals blah, and then another one, CAPTCHA site key equals whatever. If you were using CAPTCHA, I'm not here. Okay, put that, so that's running. Now, let's expose that manage, because that's a registration page. That's what that manage service is. So we're going to go to NGINX and we're going to expose that. So it's available default. So you can add another entry, location, stir. Let's see, oops, right. I'm just copy pasting from the dev version, basically. Register, capture everything up to the end, forward to captured, break for whatever reason, proxy pass, localhost 5030. I think that's what that was. Include proxy. Oops. G. Yes, I did set it to 5030. Okay, so NGINX S reload. So that will reload those config changes. And let's see. Dev. Okay, so that's still running. Register. Hey, there we go. And it's got our worlds. There's no CAPTCHA. And if I do tcamps script, hey, there it goes. Now, it's likely, I didn't have to do it here because I changed the app settings file, but it's likely that you will need to also add do I not have, I'm looking for a setting where I can set the server name and the base path. That should be an option somewhere in here. Folders. It generates this. Their name, road name, road post name. That goes like that. It's crap on the side. Is that all done just in the HTML? Server. This. Ah, okay, that's a smart way of doing it. Sort of. It doesn't take a base path into account. So if you did have a base path, you would have to manually modify this. And then you could rebuild and redeploy, or you could just directly modify. But micro, manage, www root, index, and you can just you can just edit this file directly, and then you can just refresh and it will apply. So where's the cursor? Base, sure. Whoops. Base. Just for demonstration, page source, and base. Yep. So you can edit the file directly or redeploy. Okay, so now we've got this script. I should hang on to this. Dev script name, yes. Now, is it just the app? Is that all that's left? Map cache. Manage, we have the fetcher. We already ran the config fetcher. Well, all right. All that's left is the actual Vault app. So, etc. System D, system vault.service, and times for some more copy pasta. Manage. Right, stage 1. Sure. Good enough. Unit. This is the stuff that matters. Working directory equals home Tyler Vault. Oh, no, it's called app, isn't it? Yes, app. Start. I'm going to have to run the chmod plus x on this sec. Vault app. Restart always. Restart seconds. Equals 10. Syslog. Identifier. That doesn't environment equals USB 4. Environment equals production. Environment equals URLs. Star 1000. Assets. Connection strings. 2 underscores. Server equals localhost. User ID equals TW.Vault. Password equals password. Database equals vaults. The other config stuff can mostly be skipped. The only thing that I want is to disable the obfuscation secure. So you want security dot security dot where did it go? Security. Oh no, that's initialization. That's what it was. Okay. Initialization underscore auto obfuscate primary script equals false. And then target, no, install wanted by equals multi-user dot targets. That should be everything. Should. Okay. Reload. Enable TW.Vault. Start TW.Vault. Top. Let's see. Is it doing stuff? No. Cool. Oh, I forgot to do the chmod. TW.Vault app. Now let's try this. Running. I don't know what the hell that K-Worker thing is, but okay. Looks like it's running, sort of. So let's modify NGINX to expose the version or the copy that we have running on the server. So we don't need that anymore. We now need local, an L, host, NGINX, S reload. Now, if we go my.dev script main.js, a vault.js, a okay. Now, if I take this script And I'm going to also where's the log for this? Logs. F logs that. Screw around with logs right now. Or maybe I should. Maybe I should. What's the default logging config for this? App settings. Dev logs. The dev logs folder? Yes, we do. Dev logs. That's not quite what let's modify, etc. System D, system vault.service, and we will change this logging config. Let's see, serolog underscore right to underscore 0. I think that's it. Yes. 0. Okay, so that's going to be the first entry in the right to. It's args. Figured logger right to. We want the second or index 2, the third in the list, which is that async thing. Args. Jeez. Configure underscore 0 underscore args underscore path formats equals let's do vault logs log date.log date.log. Oops. No idea if that's going to work. Node system control restart TW vaults ls. Is there a vault? Where are those logs? Actually, settings JSON. Okay. Two. The first one. Args. Configure logger. To sync. Config. We'll double check that this is correct, but I'm pretty sure it's correct. I don't know why it's not applying, but worst case scenario, I'll just edit the JSON directly. Two, underscore 0 for the first one. Args. Configured logger. Yes. 2. 2. Breaks. 0th. First. Breaks. Yep, I don't know why that's not working, so I'm just gonna say screw that, and I'm just gonna edit the settings.json directly. Vaults logs. Wait a sec. That ls app vaults. Log slash. Nothing else going on there. Read. Oops. Is that the magic trick that I need? Oh, it's done. Control data. Load. Start. W-Vault. Less. Snap. Last try. Just make sure that 200 args configure logger. Oops. 2 args. Here 0 args. Did uncount this. They're running in the right working directory, home, Tyler app. Yeah. Nope. Okay, that's not working for whatever reason. Oh well. Instead, modify the app settings, JSON manually, which I already did. That not. Oh, maybe because there's no warning default debug. It's TW.Vault, because there wasn't anything being logged. There it is, vault logs. Okay, so then if I edit app settings, well, yeah, app settings, that JSON, put this back to logs, system controls, TW.Vault. Just going to remove this logs folder, and the app settings is configured to log to just logs, but we have the environment set to, we do have the environment set to vault logs. So if the environment logging stuff is configured, we just need to vault, and we should get nothing. App settings, JSON, do I still have that? Minimum level debug, only file. Yep, that's still. If that starts. Right now I'm just screwing around with logging stuff since I might as well know how that gets set up. Logs that. Okay. Initialize vault context. So it is pulling those in, but I don't see any other. Yeah, I don't see any error messages from Serolog. Huh. Well, that's annoying. Not sure why that's happening. System. No, wait. Did I daemon reload? System control, restart, TW, Alt, LS. This is all the same. Context, what is the other? Logs, oops, logs, we can remove it. Vaults, logs, yep. That's annoying. System, TW, vaults.service. It's probably a typo somewhere in there, but. Oh, that would do it. Yep, because it is a typo. Configure. Not past tense. Okay, configure logger. Wait, is there another configure? No. Okay, now system control. Daemon reload. Restart. TW.Vault.Ls. Hey, geez, finally. Okay. So that's logs configured to the environment variables. Okay. Now we've got logs in there. Okay. Okay. So I made this script before, and this register, now, the register page, I made that, so I'm going to use this new script that I got. It's just, it looked different, but it's just formatted differently. Whatever. Vault. Nope. What is the problem? Loading failed. Network. Vault.js. Oh, yep, because it's still using v.tylercamp.me. Okay. Okay, so there is another setting that we have to change. System, and that's that server hostname config option. So TW.Vault. So back in here, let's look at these configs. Where is under development? Yes. So I need initialization, server hostname equals my.dev. Vault. Let's try this again. There we go. Hey, we got ourselves a vault. Hey, and let's hold up. Let's upload. Let's upload our data. As always, I always upload my data before and after taking a breath. I suggest everyone else do the same. Upload. That's what we need to do. But it did, and it's done. Hooray! Oh boy. Took me long enough, but lots of good progress. Now, what else? What else do we need to configure? Add more worlds. We could also enable script obfuscation. That would be nice to have, because it is not obfuscated at the moment. So to do that, we need to install some stuff. So apt-get install npm. npm, or is it just, no, not bpm, npm. I need node. Is it just node? Install Node.js. Okay, apt-get install Node.js. So we need that. Then npm install g javascript-obfuscator. Oh, okay, go for it. Unexpected, but whatever. Which, sure, it's still streaming. Stop for some reason, it did not. Okay, and it's done. Nice. Okay, so npm install g javascript obfuscator. Yeah. That should be fine. Hopefully. I've already modified this. Okay. So now we need to do another daemon reload to load that config change so that it'll use the obfuscator, and then we just restart TW.Vault. Now we should see node pop up. Did it crash? Did it not find it? System control status, TW.Vault. Oh, did I? Probably because I disabled it in the app settings too. App settings, JSON. No. Oh wait, yes, that would cause issues. Right. So I need to re-enable. Need to put this line back in. I just need to set it to true. Oops, true. Save, quit. Other daemon reload. Other vault restarts. And then a top. Show me that node. No? Vault? It was already set to not obfuscate. Primary script. Is there a typo in here? Settings auto obfuscate primary script. Initialization. Spelled correctly. Go back. Here. Script Vault.J.S. Yeah, that's not obfuscated. What else did we need? Let's get scripts. Should be it. Is dated. Maybe there will be something in the logs. Vault logs that all the way to the end. Updating access groups, route matched. Wait. Revised. All that. Nope, nope, nope. Why is that not running? I didn't expect that having this in here would do anything. Vault. Did I mess something up while making this other change? Is that what I did? Might have made a mistake somewhere. Let's go to startup. If ASP util use production scripts, in production mode or configuration mode security. I think I made an incorrect change. Git diff. What was the original? Strings. Configuration and security force enable. Static class. Configuration. Security. Instance get section. Yeah, that should be fine. And then just going to force enable. Right. Oh, why, oh, why, oh, why? Is it not obfuscating? Was there a typo in the thing? No. System D, system W, vault. Oh, force enable obfuscated scripts. Oh, because that's initialization. Huh? Oh, I did make a typo. Sort of. I think the original code was a little bit off as well. It's annoying. Okay, so I'm going to need to rebuild. Well, I don't need to rebuild, but I'm going to anyway, just to show force enable. Configuration, initialization, dot. Oh, is auto obfuscate even in auto? Nope. Ah! Oh, that's lovely. That is lovely. All right, so this never worked in the first place. Lovely. What I actually wanted was under security. Different. It's a different property. Force. Yeah. If you're building from the original source, you don't need to do this step because I changed stuff, which is why I need to do this step. Otherwise, it should be fine. Where does that configuration go? configuration. What's it called? Security configuration. Force enable obfuscated scripts. Force enable obfuscated scripts equals true. Now, take a reload. Restart, TW.Vault. Let's try this again. Show me that node. Show me that node. A node? What? What was the config that I used for the public vault? What was this? Well, required files. This can just be removed entirely. Should, I should say, should be able to be removed entirely. I think this public scripts stuff is also not really used anymore. It's just legacy. Didn't do another typo, did I? Micro. Initialization. I did, because it's not initialization, it is security. Oh boy. So reload. Start W-Vault. There's node. Okay, so that obfuscation utility runs using node. Once it's done, just finished, we should have. Hey, there we go. There's our obfuscation. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Said I was going to redeploy. Meh, don't feel like it. But I believe that's about it. That is everything for installing the vault, running the vault. Anything else? Nope, just the Postgres configuration stuff. What else? Yeah, no, I think that's everything. Which means that's probably not everything, and I'm probably forgetting something, but whatever. Nice. Shut down now. And I'm not using it anymore, because I have my IP forwarded, rather I have that port forwarded, so let me... Yeah, I should remove that port forwarding, because the VM is shut down, but somebody else on the network might end up getting that IP. So I'm gonna just remove that port forwarding. But yeah, that's it. Sweet. All right, now what next? What next? I will just go through and review the code, I guess. Is anyone even in chat? Nobody here to ask questions? Algorithm Bandit? Anyone? Nope, just me. Cool. I guess I will just go through. There's nobody. Yep, no, just me, all on my lonesome. Oh well. What can I go over and what can I talk about? Let's see. Yes, I can. Yeah, I can just go file by file. Right. I was looking through the code before, and there were a handful of spots where something wasn't correct, like it wasn't commented properly or whatever. So I guess I'll just look through. putil, bunch of random crap. I couldn't figure out where this code belonged, so I just threw it into this ASP util thing. Whatever. Script obfuscation. These params can be changed. This is just what I happen to find useful. Now, people probably already noticed that this obfuscation also prevents the script from being ran more than once. So without obfuscation, if you run the script twice, it'll work fine on both runs. But if you obfuscate it, you run it once, that works fine. But if you run it again without reloading, then that breaks. And that's just because it stores stuff in global variables, and then when you run it a second time, there's conflicts between all that. That could probably be fixed by just, let's see, is file, target file. So I could probably do something. Wait, no, where's the temp? Where does this run? Script obfuscation, output file path, temp path. Okay, so I would want to do another. Let's see. I would want to do something like script equals file that read all text. But read in the script, output file path. And then I would do fixed script equals. And then we just do well, actually no. Interpolation makes it weird. Okay. Function. Then we put the rest of the script inside that function, and then close it, and then we'd call the function. And that would isolate it, and then we would have to also save file, write all text to the output file path, fixed script, something along those lines. And that should fix that problem. I'm not committing or testing anything today. No. Gone over a bunch of this configuration before, a bunch of technicalities that we need. Program, yeah, I already went over that. This was just for getting more exception info, admin controller, user logs. This feature is kind of weird. So the way this works is that the Postgres, the table in Postgres that manages, that stores, hold on, let's open it up. Let me close that because I don't have that running anymore. Go to, right, security. Hello? Not running? Postgres. Services. PostgreSQL. Ah, why is this? Restart. Stopped running. Okay. Refresh. Expand. No. We have extra stuff in here. No. Services. Let's try pgAdmin again. There we go. Okay, that was annoying. Okay, go back to security. Right, I was talking about the user activity log, this user log. So this is set that whenever there is a change made to the user table, the contents of that change are also copied to the user log. So if you disabled a key or if you added or deleted one, blah, 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 every one of those changes would go in here. And that's some built-in Postgres feature, which I'm not fully familiar with, but this log feature for all the user changes and whatnot, that's all just pulling from that table. So yeah, you can see the different operations. Yeah, building up a bunch of info, translate, and description. And then this eventually gets turned into the table that you see when you look at the history tab or whatever it was. most interesting in here? Not off the top of my head. All of this code is a freaking mess, in my opinion. It wasn't written to be particularly tidy. Certainly gets the job done. This translation stuff, this was a pain in the butt. Especially server-side, because I have to use these strings. I mean, I don't have to. And in the JavaScript, I also have lib. There is translation codes. That's what it is. So I have this, so I can just, I have them all typed out so I can get autocomplete, but I don't have like a C# version of this, so I don't have that autocomplete. I don't really need to translate much in the server anyway, so it just didn't seem worth the effort. Meh. Let's translate, yep, vault keys. Permission right, so if there was a system level key, then you would not be able to manage that user, although there's no way to get a system level key. You have to manually add that. Everything else is all just default or admin. So there's model.json. Right, so the data model for all of this stuff, half of it was split with database types. The database types are in, where is here? Vault.Lib, scaffold, goes all this stuff. Then when it comes to JSON, then we go into model, JSON, and then we get all of these other types. And we frequently need to convert between all of them. So there's these conversion utilities, user convert, village convert, blah, blah, blah. Lots of boring code, really. Nothing special. Make failed auth record. There's a lot of stuff where I add these sorts of records of certain events happening, and they do get served to the database, but I never, like, I didn't regularly go through. Well, no, I would occasionally go through and check these tables to see if anything interesting came up, but nothing ever really did, and overall it just didn't end up getting really used. But it's still there. Let's see, I had a thought of something. What was the thing I was just going to mention? Yeah, I'll come to you later, hopefully. Vault key, nothing here, nothing interesting. Translation stuff, yeah, I said it's a pain in the butt. It exists. Oh, right. Right. So there are two things I wanted to go over. One was importing CSV dumps, because in the dump folder here, this db.zip, I've got a lot of CSVs with all of the old like translation stuff. And I will show how we're supposed to be importing that later. The other thing was the profiling information. Do not know. Is profiling data collected? That would be, I think, under TW. Tables. Performance record, that's what it was. Yes, if you go in here, you will find absolutely nothing. Well, after you've had the server running for a while, it will be cases where, let's see, it was BaseController profiling, the profiling stuff. Profile. This. Yeah, so there's this readable label, and this will have stuff, operation label, and then just general statistics about how long it took to do that. The profiling will capture this data and it will throw it into this profiling.add record. What was the difference? Profiling entries. Oh, right. So this was just a minor optimization, right? But all the profiling stuff gets thrown into here, and this will collect however many profiling events. So if it's profiling a particular endpoint and you hit that endpoint 10 times, it's going to collect all of the data from all 10 of those requests, and then it's going to sort of bundle them in together at some regular interval. Yeah, every 30 minutes it will take all of the stuff that was collected and generate statistics and store that in. So that's kind of useful to have. Also, admin controller, nothing else here really. Delete, yeah, all this translation stuff. Anything else in here really? Troop summary, so this is the spreadsheet. Yeah, dear Jesus. Oh boy, how many lines is this? 400 lines. Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. Lots of upfront data querying. Gathering army data, gathering commands, organizing the data in a bunch of different ways so that we can cross-reference it in a useful way. Support statistics, incomings statistics, so forth. Max nobles, current possible nobles. Generate data. Here's hard-coded option. Utility functions in the lib dot features. Yeah, simulation, battle simulator, all that stuff. Lots of good utilities. Else, oh yeah, this never ended up turning into anything. I wanted to have some system to automatically generate op plans so you could reserve, I don't know, some number of villages to one player and another number of enemy villages to another player, and then this could automatically generate, like, you know, what are the launch times, or rather, when will everyone's troops be back home, so it could figure out what a good launch time would be. It could automatically pick whatever the targets are to try to give things an even spread, I guess, or something like that. It never ended up going anywhere, clearly. That would have been a big undertaking. Something I wanted to do, but just never got to it. There's so much other stuff. Enemy tribes, this was for determining useless stacks, and I think that was it. It's probably something else that I don't remember, but whatever. Enemy tribe, yep. Right, yeah, an annoying thing when dealing with Tribal Wars data is needing to decode, URL decode, the names and the tags and whatnot, because you can have all sorts of weird characters in the names, and Tribal Wars will report those differently, and if you just use the name as is, then it's not going to work as you'd expect. Well, I'm scrolling all over the place. But it's just this URL encode decode. Web utility. Oh, this was a built-in one. So it uses the built-in URL decode and then a couple of extras. That was admin controller, alert controller. Yes, this is... Alright, so I end up having to refer to a bunch of configuration info, which is why we need to preload this. We cannot access world data while we're within query. We have to get that data out beforehand. So we preload that. Here's another hard-coded thing. Then we have all of these different ways of generating different data, snipe suggestions. Is there anything hard-coded in here? Recap. Nope. Oh yeah, there's another hard-coded minimum 25 loyalty. Or no. Right, no, I think that's supposed to stay. Because it's just the default after conquering the village. I think? Maybe. I don't recall. Right, so then we find a village that we want to attack, then Vault will give you a list of all villages that's near that village that you want to attack. We'll give you all villages that are within five spaces, so there's another hard-coded thing. Snipe suggestions. Another hard-coded thing. So, I'm not gonna go over every little thing. I'm losing my voice. I don't normally talk this much. Sore throat. Stack suggestions. Frontline villages for the villages where there are more nukes than can be eaten by the village. Or no. It's eatable. Right, it should have at least twice as much defense, or rather, if there's 5 nukes coming in, then it will only notify if there is less than 10 DVs of defense. Or not 10 DVs, but however much defense which can withstand 10 attacks. Or no. No. It needs with at least 2, not twice as many. So if there's 5 nukes, and it will do anything with less, anything that can take less than 7 nukes. Something like that. So find the villages which need more defense. We select the villages. We get the number of nukes, the number of nukes that it can eat. This is actually not. Where does this get used? That might actually be a problem. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. So a big concern with all of these features is how to convey useful information without leaking everything. It's the same sort of thing as, if you're a Vault admin, you can see all the troops on your side, but other people that are not admins cannot see all of the troops on your side. And with a lot of these features, I needed to make sure that I wasn't accidentally exposing data that shouldn't be exposed. So in this case, this will give info on how much defense is at a given village. It's not going to tell you exactly how much, but it can give an estimate of, number of nukes that can be eaten. And based off of just that, you can estimate what sort of defense they have. So that would be leaky information in that sense, because it would be telling you how much defense is in that village, even if you don't have the permissions to see exactly what is in there. So that's a problem. This should be changed probably. Maybe instead, I don't know. I don't know if this is even necessary to include in the final payload. I don't know, but whatever. That should be updated at some point. Noble suggestions. This was very. What the hell? Let's see. Noble targets. It filters through the targets depending on how much. Yeah, there's another hard-coded thing. Another sort of hard-coded. Right, well. Right, so that tab shows you a list of villages you should noble, and then it gives a confidence for that. The confidence is kind of whatever the fuck I decide to have it set to. It's kind of an arbitrary measure, but I still wanted to have something to indicate which village would be a safer bet than others. So it does this magic calculation. Checks. It's defense there and takes that into account with the final overall confidence. Half of the confidence would be from whatever, you can read the code. I'll reread all of that. Yep. There's another hard-coded thing. Stacking code with temporary sets, right. I wanted to run all of these queries in parallel rather than one after another, trying to make it go faster, but each of these, I mean, if you have a database context, if you have one of these, you can only use it from within a single thread at a time. So I couldn't just keep reusing this. So I needed to make a temporary one for each different query, and then I would run all of these in parallel, each with their own database connection, effectively. There's one other thing, right? This quad tree thing here, right? So for stuff like figuring out which villages are within 10 spaces of this coordinate, I could iterate through every single village, but that would take forever. So I just have this quad tree thing, which I mean, you can Google quad tree. Yeah, it's a pretty well known thing. Anything else here? Contains and range. Right, yeah. Other utilities, distance-based utilities. Nearby support, right, this was one of those features where I was figuring out how to make something useful without exposing too much information. So this could have given you a list of villages, of allied villages, where you could poke the owner of that village and just say, hey, I need defense, can you send the defense from here? But that tells you where the defense is. We don't want that. So instead, I just had it tell you what players can possibly send defense, and then they can figure that out on their own. Similar thing here, maybe? I forget what this is. Oh, no, yeah, this is the same thing, but it's just a slightly different filter. Whatever. Admin, alert, ally. This is not used. As far as I can recall, this is just old code. BaseController, right? This has a bunch of utilities. This paginated, yeah, this is also something that's I don't really use. Ally controller, command controller. Yeah, these aren't actually used. These were some of the first things that I wrote while I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do all this stuff, and it just stuck around. Should probably get rid of that, because we don't want to expose, especially because, what was it, report controller? Get report. Okay, yeah, if debug. You don't want to expose everyone's information like that. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. This was a utility, right? So there's all this information based off of reports that the Vault's been building up, and we want to be able to query this data, but we only want to query the data for the current user. We only want to get the stuff that the current user has access to. And that's what all this is. It's just a bunch of wrappers, so we can query these data types easily while also staying within whatever the permissions are. That active user, current sets, bunch of utilities, more utilities. This transaction thing, this is think this is just used for some admin stuff, but otherwise it's not really used. It was meant to be for responding to malicious requests that would try to insert bad data. If someone had figured out how to get through the vault obfuscation and they uploaded a bunch of reports that suggested that all of the enemy villages all had 50 DBs or something like that. I didn't want to include checks as to whether the data was valid and just leave it at that, because someone could still upload valid looking data, but it's still incorrect. So at the very least, I just wanted to make a record of if we got data, where did it come from, what data did it replace, and so on. So if we did get malicious data coming in, we could at least track it back to where it came from. And that's what all this previous transaction, user ID, and so on. And similar, invalid data records, similar sort of thing with this. But again, none of this is really used outside of transactions a little bit, I think, for admin stuff. What else? What else? World information, yep. World settings, yep. Until. Oh yeah, time calculations, those are annoying. I believe it does take daylight savings time into account now because of this, because we're now using a proper time zone with all this stuff, but the Vault doesn't handle that boundary period between daylight savings time and non-daylight savings time. So it can do the calculations, but it'll be a bit screwy for that period, just because it doesn't handle that transition at all, really. I mean, it'll do it automatically based off of this time zone stuff, but it doesn't make any corrections elsewhere, which can cause some problems. First off, preload, translation. The difference between registry and context. Translate async. What is this? Context. Registry. Oh, right. So this is the database object of the current translation registry. And a registry is a collection of translated text. And then this is the built version of this registry, essentially, and pulls in all the miscellaneous data to actually make this useful. This other stuff, checking that the parameters exist. More utilities, profiling, yeah. Okay. BaseController, AlertController, CommandController. I believe this was for tagging. Yeah, get incoming tags. This was one big mess. Jeez, oh boy. The backtime plan, this specific endpoint was for if you wanted to backtime a single village. No, a single command, that's what it was. So this would be if you went to the village details, ran the script, and then it showed icons for each returning command, and then you could click on a specific command and get the plan for that specific one. That's what this was for. All of this, I don't recall most of the logic for this. Incoming tags, criminal IDs. Yeah, my eyes are glazing over this right now. Nothing's really sticking out to me, so I don't have anything else to add for this. Yeah. I think for the some weird. Oh no, that wasn't. Okay. But yeah, this is it. It's yeah. That's that. That's a thing. Performance controller. If you wanted to, if you're profiling something and you don't want to wait the full 30 minutes or whatever for the statistics to be collected and stored, then you can get this flush API performance / flush to store it immediately. PlanController. So this was the all-in-one backtime plan thing. This was under the Tools tab, I think, along with the fake scripts. Yeah. Once again, not much to add. Little simulator. Oh, this was a pain in the butt. Yeah, no. The register, the battle simulations with archers is broken. I don't think that ever worked. I mean, I wrote all of this, but I had already spent enough time getting just this working, and at the time I was also only playing on World 100, so I didn't really care about not having this. I'm not sure what's needed to make this correct, but it's all just a lot of like internal calculations from mentioned by random people across the forums. As far as I can recall, there wasn't a specific description of how these calculations were done. And so for testing, it was, let's see, I had a handful of example, is that in here? Yeah, sim test data. Right, so this was just a list of example simulations that it would run, and then I would also run these same simulations in the actual, or in the rally point, and I would just compare the results. I think the non-archer simulation was like 95% accurate. Then the archer simulation, I don't even remember. Yeah. All of the logic for this is just pulling from these threads. Battle simulator. Yeah, we generated the plan. Now we need to convert it to JSON. Do all that. Return it. Cool. Is that 20? Wall level? Oh. More hard-coded stuff. Yep. In this command options calculator, this is how all the snipe calculations, back time and whatnot, all of that goes through this. And this is really just, let's see, you give it a bunch of requirements, maximum travel time, minimum offensive troops, and blah, blah, blah. And then you have it generate options based on the troops in a village. So it will pull all those troops in. Let's see, targets, right, available villages. Go through all of the available villages, get the armies, and then it will generate all permutations of those armies that we can send. So we generate an option for sending spears, for sending rams, for so on and so forth. And then we filter out that big list of options based off of these requirements. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Builds up an exhaustive list and then filters stuff out, and then it gives you a plan, which is all of the remaining instructions that were not filtered out. Instant back times, yeah, already went through all this, right, okay. This was PlanController, PlayerController, all this stuff, this isn't really used. This is village. So this should be a village, and this does not have army data. We'll use villages. So it's all villages for a given player. We'll just convert model to JSON points. Oh, okay, yeah, it's not exposing anything major. Okay. I was concerned that this was like dumping a ton of troop information, but it is not. It's doing nothing. So this, right, so this is the data from the overview support tab, I think. Fetches all that, stores it in. Yeah, and high scores for the current authenticated player. Don't know if, but yeah, that is used. Nothing special there. Player translation. Okay, so this is the backend stuff for creating and modifying translations, where the translation is owned by a player. Create a translation. Nothing really special going on here. Nothing. Nope, nothing special. Report controller, this is when you upload your reports. Right. This was just a check for reports that you've already uploaded, so we could skip those. This notifies the Vault that you are done uploading reports. So this is to get around if somebody just uploaded a single report and then refreshed and then prevented it from uploading any other reports. We don't want them to... If you just upload a single report, that doesn't really count towards the requirement of, like, for some features you need to make sure that you've uploaded within the past however many days. Just uploading a single report shouldn't affect that. So there's a specific thing, and once it's done uploading everything, then it uploads, or then it assigns this last uploaded report tab. So you gotta wait for it to finish. You can't just skip out on the rest. Reports that are ignored. So this would mostly be for player farming, I guess. I don't recall what that was for exactly. There were some cases where we filtered out reports. Yeah. And this is the actual code for handling when you upload a single report, right? This was where there was weirdness. So you'd upload a report, and where is it? Found JSON report attacking. Right. So this was for back time association. So if you get a report, or if the Vault gets a report and the enemy attacked, they use the nuke, and now the nuke survived, we want to associate those troops from that report with a command. Now, if there is already a command associated with this report, or rather, if there's already reports, if there's a command that matches the report, or rather, that the returning troops and whatnot match, then it'll just use that command. But if there isn't a command yet, then we have to generate a sort of artificial command and stuff all the other information in there. And yeah, so it just keeps retrying until it finds a command ID that is available. That's nobody. Then it grabs that, associates the command, updates the troops associated with it. Then it uses that in the backtime calculations. Script controller, right, the fakes scripts, all these query parameters that you can use. Right, so it will query for all of the villages with these parameters, and then it'll save the results of that for others to use later on, because that can be kind of a heavy query, so we just cache the results and reuse them when possible. Get stored, yeah. async caching map. That's the fake script. Then I think this actually isn't really used. Maybe it is. No, yes, this is used. It's get compiled obfuscated. It is not obfuscated. That's not the, no, it's not obfuscated. I mean, if you have the obfuscation enabled and it performs the obfuscation, then for those specific files, then yeah, it'll go through here and it'll get the raw file, the obfuscated, hopefully, version of the file. But yeah, there's no obfuscation going on in here. But this is the function where if you're running locally and you go scripts/vault.js and it gives you the combined giants JavaScript file, then that's this. This is doing that work of collecting everything in. This was the unobfuscated version, which I never really used. Utilities, and then this is the one for actually compiling. So we've got the script compiler thing that I made. Lots of this stuff built in so that it can inject various configuration stuff. Because the script and the server need to be in sync. They need to have the same parameters. So this inserts that. And this goes through the script. It will find all of the, let's see. It'll find this require syntax thing, which was, that was the, nope, TW Vault app. Yeah, this. If you do this, then it injects that script that you requested, and that's what this is. Funky looking, but whatever. So it finds those cases, resolves those dependencies, inserts them, and so on and so forth, before finally giving back the final script. Configuration stuff, more configuration stuff. Oh, this actually compiles it. Then we check for errors, and then we append this. I think this was for Google Chrome as a hint. I think this was for debugging purposes, but this isn't really. Oh no, this is still useful if you're using a development environment. Yep, server compiling, script compiling. Server controller, get the UTC time of the server. No, wait, date time? Yes, the current UTC time of the server, the time for the server, or for the tribal war server. So this is time for the vaults. This is for the vault. This is the current server time, tribal war server time. Server settings, nothing useful. This, yep, create access group. Although, I don't think this is actually used. Was this used? I don't remember writing or using this, but I guess this is a thing. It's a convenient way to make. Okay, so I guess you don't need to have the TW.Vault manage app to get a new access group. You can use this with the system token. You do have to create the system token yourself. You have to insert that into the database. I don't think that's inserted. To mute for a second. Okay, all right. Yeah, so I just loaded this up. Yeah, there's no default system token. That's an old thing. I haven't used system tokens in forever. But yeah, I guess that's a thing. Let's see, server controller, what else? Translation controller, right? So this is for serving translation information. When you load up the script and the script needs to get all of the translation data to start presenting stuff, that's what this is. Default translation for a given server, get the translation parameters for validation, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Village controller was actually used. Right, so yeah, so this was for when you hover over a village on the map, I think. Hits this, and then it returns all of that data. There's that. And then this, right, this is for if you are uploading, wait, any current. Oh, yes, so this is, right, so you go to upload your data, it uploads all your current troops, it makes a single request with all of the data in there, troop data, and max possible nobles, I guess. And that's just for the current player. Yeah, build up the armies, apply. Is this actually used? I don't recall if this is used. Right, I think this was, right, somebody had a feature request where if you hovered over a village on the map, they wanted to be able to see if allies were also attacking that village. And I think this was just for that. I mean, there was already the built-in feature, but having it in the vaults would make it a bit more accessible, a bit more consistent. And then this is for the tags for the vaults, or for the map overlay. When it makes those icons on top of the villages themselves to denote, do they have nobles, do they have defense, do they have whatever, that's all pulling from this data here. Then, right, I think this was for fake scripts, essentially, so you could put in whatever coords, whatever filter, and it would give you the list of village coordinates. So just a helper. And I guess that's it for the main app. Anything else? Oh, I hope I'm audible. I do not have anyone else in the chat to tell me if they can hear me clearly, so I'm just gonna have to hope. Fake, yeah, command classification, fake detection rules. This wasn't actually used. This was apparently, but this clearly that's empty. That's the original. Yeah, no, none of these are actually used. Unfortunate. Oh well. Yeah, planning. Right. This was the plan calculator for back times and snipes and whatnot. Simulation. Yeah, battle simulator. We saw that before. Construction calculator. Does this actually? Oh, yes, this does get used. Yeah, so this needs to be updated. Just need to swap out this for new construction calculator. Current world settings dot speed? Game speed, yeah, that's what it would be. Then you need to cast to float. But yeah, that should be done at some point. I don't recall if this and these are. I know there's a bunch of construction data you can pull from the server config, but I never ended up actually doing anything with it. So chances are a good chunk of this stuff should also get updated if we want this to be properly accurate for all servers. Was go to ConfigurationFetcher. This has the different XML files that it's pulling in to pull in the server settings. Is it here? Yes. Yeah, this was interface.php get config. I think there was another XML file that you could also get. Yes, I didn't. Right, yeah, I did have it in here, but I removed it since I wasn't doing anything with it. I'm sure if we look through the commit history, we'll see that file, but I'm not using that here. Production times, blah, blah, blah. What else? Defense solver. Oh, this would have been nice. So the idea here was if we attack a stacked village and we get only some data back about what troops survived or what enemy troops died. I think that's a thing where you can attack, you lose all of your troops. It doesn't show you the enemy troops, but it will show you how many enemy troops you killed. Based on that information, it seems possible that you could sort of reverse calculate how much defense is at that village that you attacked. Is the information that's shown and the number of enemy troops killed, that's going to be dependent on how many troops are at the enemy village. So it seems possible to be able to calculate or to estimate how much defense is there without even having a scout report. But another thing I never really got to, and I didn't really get very far in the general logic for this, so I didn't really go anywhere. Seems doable, but not a thing now. Loyalty calculator, recruitment calculator. What the hell is this stuff? Right, this was to calculate estimates. Right, if you hover over an enemy village, it will calculate approximately how many troops could have been recruited in the time since the last report. So if the village was constantly pumping out troops, this would give you a worst case scenario of how many troops they could have. Calculator. Right, so this was calculating travel time and also estimating the troop type based on the distance between villages and how long it takes. How long it takes for troops to arrive. I think there's a bug somewhere with this. There were several cases where commands weren't being tagged properly, and presumably it was something with this. But I wasn't able to. I looked at this a couple of times and I wasn't able to figure out exactly what the issue was. So maybe there's a problem here, but I don't know. Oh, spatial, right? This was the quad tree, yeah, for checking villages within a given distance from some position. Speed that up. The by tree, this was date tree. So this was to make it. I wanted to be able to quickly get, say for example, all of the commands that, for all of the reports that happened within some time frame, and so this would have just been a binary tree based off of those dates. But I never ended up really needing it, so didn't do anything with that. This is a utility class that I copied and pasted from somewhere, then added some of my own stuff. Encryption, right? The quote unquote encryption. Data obfuscation is more accurate, but that's what this is. Right, so with the obfuscation, there was the seed, the salt, the UTC time, that all came together to obfuscate the data in various ways, and that's listed out on the GitHub. Yeah, managing security, that's this. All that stuff. Now, since the obfuscation was based on a timestamp, there could be a situation where the script is using one timestamp and the server's using a different timestamp. I don't know, they're a little bit out of sync, and so that might cause an error if you try to upload data because it couldn't deobfuscate it. So this essentially, these seeds, available seeds rather, this is basically just a list of the seeds that have, like, the current seed and then whatever the last seed was, like 15 seconds ago, I think, something like that. Yeah. Oh, okay, so it swaps every 5 seconds, but it will, yeah, how long the interval should be valid for. So even if you're using something from 10 seconds ago, you can still use it, just to avoid errors when making requests. So it goes through, tries all of these seeds to deobfuscate the data, and you can quote unquote successfully deobfuscate data. I mean, it'll give you a string, but it might end up being garbage. Most of the time it would throw an error and I could just rely on that, but not always. So I needed to include this vault prefix as an indicator of, okay, yeah, this data was actually, it's a string, but it's an actually valid string. It's not garbage. That's what that was for. Trim off that prefix. Then this was um, the obfuscation algorithm I listed before. Some random thing for calculating how big each of the swizzle groups should be, and this logic is also all in the all JavaScript scripts. I mean, it's in the opposite order, but it's generally it's the same stuff. Yeah, see the vault here. Description score service. This just maintains a list of all of the access groups, goes through each group, and then calculates those high scores at some regular interval. This is a giant freaking thing. And then it calculates that and stores it. Yeah, and then it stores it so that you can access this stuff later elsewhere. 0. Yeah, whatever. Profiling stuff. I went over this before. Script compiler, I also sort of went over this. Translation context, we glanced at it but didn't really look at it. Yeah, so this is what's actually used on the server side for performing translations, which when you have the default translation and then you have the current user, you have the server default translation, which is the translation that I baked in. Then you have the Tribal Wars default translation, which is going to be based on, if you're playing on a Portuguese server or something. And then there is the current user's translation. And so it'll go through each of these in opposite order, and it'll pick whichever translation has the value first. So even if a translation is incomplete, it can still fall back to whatever the defaults were for that language or for that entry. Yep, that has all of that. Village search. I think this was just for the fake script. And for yeah, basically just for the fake scripts. Technically, yeah. Model. Anything interesting in here? No, not really. This was annoying. Is this even? Oh, right, because right. Because I have, for JSON, I have it as a dictionary from troop type to a number, but for the database, these aren't dictionaries. These have explicit property names. type, get property true type. Yeah, so yeah. It will take, say, there's the troop type spear, and then there will be a spear scaffold. Then there will also be a spear here. So it just looks up the property, the appropriate property for whatever object we're generating, and then just stuffs it in using reflection. World ID, so on and so forth. Army convert, building convert. Nothing special here. Nothing really special here. Random conversion utils, more stuff. JSON to model, model to JSON. Yep. Village convert, user convert. Yep. So that's all the JSON conversion stuff. Right. The army, the JSON army classes, it's got all these additional stuff just for convenience. Whenever I did any army calculations on server side, it always goes through the JSON army version just because it's easier to work through. And it has implicit conversions for the scaffold types. Time info. Yeah, these are mostly just data objects, building levels. Stuff. Opening tag, make commands. I think there's anything really interesting in here. Translation registry, unit power. More model stuff. Right, so this is a bunch of data that I just pulled from, I think, the Tribal Wars wiki page, of just like stats for different things. Yeah, recruitment time. I think this is also something that that can change based on server settings. This is something else that we want to pull in from that XML, but I never did. Yep, just lots of hard-coded stuff. Native as in native to Tribal Wars, as in like pulled directly from their data. Whereas everything else is just stuff that I built up because I needed it. Yep. Validation, right. And then this was oh yeah, this was the stuff for making sure that you upload frequently before you can use the other features. Ordinate utility, a bunch of random extensions. Get a version of the current army where it's just offensive troops, or a version with just defensive troops, and so on. Or, yeah, more, yeah. Scaffold, seed, this is just a bunch of pre-generated data. This is the default translation. This should be up to date. I hope there isn't a translation that I added without applying here as well. I do not know. Don't feel like looking right now because I've been talking for hours, which is making me lightheaded. Yeah, more hard-coded data, more data, default data, some sample. Does this actually get used? I don't know what this was meant to be for. Yeah, whatever. Access group, yep, all of these are just database model types, and all of that database mapping is in this giant frickin' thing. Oh, I guess I should do that. right. Wasn't there another? Right, the CSV dumps. Right. Talked about profiling already. I will the CSV dumps, and I will also generate a new migration so I can show how that gets done. Yeah, for the most part, adding a new thing needs to adding any new database entry, you'll need an associated update here. Potentially another update within the migration tool if you want to update that. But if you want to make a change, you'd have to update this, and then you'd also have to manually apply it in the database. I mean, you could use the migration tool for it, but gets a bit awkward. But yeah, if you make the change here and also manually update the database, then you don't need to do anything else. So you just need to make sure to keep all this in sync with whatever's on the database. Entity declarations, all that stuff, a bunch of indexes, default, or no, these are sequences for IDs, right? Yep. Nothing else really. Example, security, right? Let's see, this pulls out authentication data from the headers. This is just a data structure for storing that stuff. This is the utility that will automatically perform the obfuscation or de-obfuscation, I should say. This gets used. Right. Yeah, so if we look at the app startup, we go to use Vault content decryption. This is one of the startup config things that goes back and inserts this into all of our requests. Yeah, encryption seed provider, we looked at this before. Please, with the requests, this performs permission checks and loads up whatever the, right, so the other thing parsed out the basic information from the headers, but the require auth attribute is what actually queries the database and pulls in all of the miscellaneous stuff. This, this doesn't do anything. This is actually supposed to use, okay, no, this isn't actually used anywhere. Good. Okay, I guess I never got that working. Third party, right, someone else wrote this, and I just, yeah. Yep, copy, paste. Yep, these utilities, the configuration stuff that it pulls in from JSON and environment variables and whatnot. Query utilities, right, so this has a bunch of specific stuff for getting all current villages for a given access group, or getting all reports for a given world, and so on. And hand load, or a handful of other utilities. Yeah, another utility. This I didn't end up really needing to use. Just a bunch of stuff for waiting for some specific number of tasks where we can run all of these things at once and get a result, and the result is split out into multiple different types rather than like you have a list of queries, you run them all, and then you just get a list of generic object results back. By using this instead, you could retain the original types, so you don't need to do a bunch of typecasting after you get the full results. But again, didn't end up really using this much. Miscellaneous extensions. Things super interesting here. Random. Yep. Yeah, I guess that's it for Vault.Lib. Wait, the JavaScript stuff. Oh boy, those all tabs. There's all of that out. It's Vault.js. This is where the main stuff happens. Brings in all of the other JavaScript files. This should be removed because this URL isn't available anymore. Right. Lib.translate. I think I had comments on the translation process. Here, script files, configuration. Is there anything in www? Nope. But I wrote something about translations somewhere. I do not recall where. Oh well. So for the scripting side of things, all translations are done through this lib.translate here. And you can pass in extra parameters. So if there's some translation where, like time translations, a translation for the arrives today at blah, 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 and that translation takes a parameter, so you just insert whatever that parameter value should be here, the date, whatever, something like that, and it would insert that into the result. This underscore escape, this is an internal sort of thing, and this just says to not perform escaping on the resulting text, and this should only really be used, well, this really shouldn't be used ever unless you are throwing stuff in an alert. Because we want this enabled so that we do want escaping, so that if somebody puts in a translation that has JavaScript code, it doesn't end up trying to run that code. Instead, it should just emit that as regular text, not as HTML or whatever. So escaping will change the text to prevent that. But if you want to display stuff in an alert window, well, that kind of messes up a bunch of different... It just looks all screwy because it's not regular text. It's got a bunch of other stuff in there. Yes, translations through here. We've got these internationalization codes, which I mentioned before. This doesn't really do much of anything. This was supposed to be if there was some update where the local storage data was changed and was no longer compatible. And so this would run whatever changes are necessary depending on the version. And I just haven't used this at all, really. But this is the thing that, like, when you run the vault for the first time, it'll say, oh, the vault has been updated. You should clear cache and re-upload everything. Like that's coming from this. Even though you haven't run the script before, it'll still tell you that you need to re-upload. Yeah, that's because of this. There's some screwy logic in there. I don't know. Oh no, that's this. Check needs update. Eh. Then we run different stuff depending on what page we're on. Which, yeah, whatever. Map, unit tests. This wasn't really... I just ran this locally. Example code. Yeah, random file for testing stuff. This checks to make sure that your browser has the necessary JavaScript features. It's the fake scripts. Let's see. Before I go into UI, talk about lib a bit. BB table builder. This was for backtime plans and snipe plans, I believe. CSV builder. This was for the admin spreadsheets. This is the data obfuscation stuff that I mentioned before. Lib. This just has a ton of different crap. This doesn't really get used anymore because there was some inconsistency on some servers, which meant that it was just generally unreliable, so I stopped using it, I think. Utilities, messages, a bunch of other stuff. Parse time strings, massive pain in the butt. Time parsing is always a pain. It's really slow too, but it gets the job done, so I'll take it. Formatting, parsing HTML into something that can be, so that if we query the HTML for a report page, we can load it in quickly and actually get data out of it. So that's what that's for. Yeah, that's self-explanatory. Self-explanatory on first run, save translation, blah, 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 blah. Translate. This is the thing we were talking about before. Params. You can see the escaped thing here. Right. And there was a development feature essentially where if you add I think it would have been like tribal.net, whatever, village.php, whatever that was. But I think you'd use hash no translate, maybe question no translate, whatever. And if you used that and then ran the script, it would just return this for all of the text. And you could just look through the script and see if there was anything other than this. And if you found something like that, then that would tell you, well, there's another thing that needs to be translated. So this was just for checking, making sure that everything was translated. You can read the description for that. Utilities, this isn't getting used. Utilities for making various API requests, search the token, vault token, the translation ID, save this file, trouble wars URL, check multiple pages. This would be, yeah, for reports if there's many pages and so on. Grab that. Anything else? Clone, erase object, group by, not really. Not much else, right? This is the init. Fetches the current player information, makes sure that it's the correct player, got server settings, translation. And once all of that is loaded, then it will actually do the callback and it will continue the rest of the script. This is all evil code. You never want to attach stuff to the prototype of a public API, but I did it anyway, because who cares, because it's Tribal Wars scripts, and I don't think much else needs to be said. Split many, nothing else, distinct by, remove, update where. This was the stuff for detecting which page we're on. And then some other config stuff that gets used elsewhere in the script, I guess. LZ string, I also copied and pasted this. It says there are changes. Undo that. Rate limiter, I don't remember if this is actually used. Request manager for, yeah, lots of requests, that. This was, I believe this and this all came from TW. Yeah, it came from this offensive defensive power calculator. So that's just pulling from this, yeah, this sort of thing. Yep. Then pages, this is all parsing specific Tribal Wars pages. So this is for the all commands page, all reports page, so on and so forth. We can go in and we can see that it ends up deferring to, right, for parsing all reports, it goes for reports overview and view report. And it just puts all of that together to get the data and upload all of that. Yeah. Yeah, you can see some of the translation formatting here. Don't recall. Right, yeah, that's why we had to have escape false. Groups, incomings. Yep. It's all data parsing stuff. And then the UI for the vault. This is what happens when you run the vault on the village details page for an enemy village. This will show the returning commands or back timeable commands, and then you can, then you can do this back times. And then this is the main vault UI tab. Something. This UI tab. Let's see. Right. So all the other stuff gets pulled into the Vault UI right here. So there's all these different tabs. So these are all split into these separate files. They all return something that looks like this, something that has something that can go in here. Container that has, oh Jesus. Do I have a summary somewhere? I do not. Yeah. If someone was in the chat bothering me for more details on this, I would go into more details on this, but I don't feel like it at the moment. Suggest just looking at the other pages to see how to make use of it. This was a utility for taking some input field and syncing that to setting things. So that's mostly on like the map overlay. You have all those different settings and you change something. Those are all hooked up with this to then go and change whatever other variables and to store, to save all that to local storage. That stuff, I don't think this actually ended up doing anything. Yeah, I don't think this spinner was actually used. Whatever. Yep. This, right, already did that. UI-lib, already did that. Incomings tagging. Don't have much to say here, I don't think. Save settings, where does this go to? Making a label for a given incoming based on the data available. The tag status, blah blah blah. Okay. Yep. Data, then make the UI, and then we gather up all the commands for later reference. Yep. Clear out old data. Already looked at that. Oh, map. Oh, this is one of my favorite features, really. I mean, understandable. I mean, any tool that you can run on the map and then it just gives you an overview of all troops. I mean, depending on how many, on what permissions you have. But yeah, this was definitely my favorite. It's a pain in the butt to get working, though. I used some other... One of my co's gave me a script for selecting villages on the map, and it would give you coordinates for those villages that you selected, and it would also highlight those villages. I think it was written by someone, by a French person or something, but I used that as a reference and built all of this around that. Yeah, this should also be changed. Preferably, this would dynamically query the data based on just the part that you're looking at. But right now it just queries for everything because I couldn't be bothered to get that dynamic aspect working. If this was updated, we'd probably get a much more responsive map overlay, and the vault would probably just take up less processing time because it's a fairly intensive thing, but whatever. Oh well. Right, yeah, these were all the templates for the different icons on different stuff on the map. And these I pulled from whatever that feature was where you can assign, you can put your villages in groups, assign an icon to those groups, and then Tribal Wars will automatically have that icon on the map. I just set that up, inspected the HTML or whatever, and found these values, so I just ended up going with that. So get the data, we intercept the pop-up, we get info, and then we get stuff, and we do stuff. Yeah. Spawn sector, right. Whenever the map, if you're panning around the map and the map reloads new data, it clears out the old, we say another 60, no, 600 more times. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, it would clear out all of the old HTML, or do something, so I'd have to reapply it. This actually loads, makes the request for the data, updates the output. This actually applies the overlay and the highlights and whatnot. This I had to look at, yeah, this was a lot of reverse engineering and trying to look at the original data. It was a pain in the butt. But just, yeah, it inserts everything. Then we've got this highlighting stuff. That's for the general like green outline highlight. And make the actual icons for the tags. More stuff. Right. This was for when someone asked if they could get info on allied commands to an enemy village without having to have them as friends. And so that's what this was for. Although I think there was a bug somewhere with this. I don't remember exactly. Yep, and this is all the HTML for the stuff that gets inserted on the pop-up. Settings UI. Oh yeah, we can see this sync prop stuff. So whenever any of these elements are changed, it stores in settings using this property, and then when the change actually happens, we just save the settings. Yeah. Yep, more stuff like that. Load settings. Right, and this blending stuff. I spent a fair bit of time trying to figure out the coloring for the stacked village icon, where it changes the coloration depending on how much defense is there. So if there's not much defense, it'll be green. If there's a lot of defense, it'll be red. I ended up using the lab color space to convert stuff. So I would convert the different colors to lab, and then I would interpolate within lab space, and I would convert back to RGB. The whole point is that the lab color space is based off of visual perception. So you might have two colors in RGB that are they have very similar values, but they might look very different. Or maybe they have different values, but they look very similar. And so the lab color space is meant to correct for all of that. So that if there was, I don't know, if you had the limit set to, let's say, 2 dVs and the village had 1 dV, it would pick an appropriate color between green and red that was appropriate for like halfway between the two. If you just do that calculation with RGB, it looks all muddied. But if you do it with lab, it's more consistent. It's just better. It's just better. And yeah, I copied and pasted a bunch of the stuff. Tried a couple of different things, as you can see, but stuck with this implementation. Then the actual tabs. Feel like going through all this stuff? Suggested recaps. Yep. It's the content. Right, that was just an internal helper. Content, yep. This is all relatively straightforward. I mean, the API for managing UI is still a mystery. What the hell this is all supposed to put together. It's a mystery to me off the top of my head, at least. Anything else? Stats? Not really. Nothing interesting here. Admin. You can see some more of the sync prop. Yep. Oh, and when somewhere in here is where the CSV generation was done. Click the key, do all this other stuff. My dog needs to go out, so I'm going to pause for a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, back, I guess. Oh yeah, here, speaking of CSV, here it is. Score of snipes. Looking into the high score of snipes. Presume you mean... Oh, right, yeah, there was a high score section for... Right. We'll look at... AlertController... No, that would be high scores. Is that PlayerController? High scores, yes. High score service. Right, okay, so there is stuff for snipes in here. Is that... Yes. So there is something for snipes, but I don't know if it's necessarily accurate. Player, try players. Right. Yeah, it got lost last time you were looking at it. I get lost looking at it. I have to go piece by piece. So for the snipes, at the very least. So this was Right, so it would go through any reports with nobles, and based on those reports, it would look for any commands that landed. Yeah, it would get all the commands to that village that received the noble attack, and then would just go through those commands and try to. Oh, right, okay, so it would look at all of those commands and it would find the support commands that landed in between the reports which contained nobles. And just based off of that, it would calculate, or it would detect that as a snipe. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the snipe was successful. It's just that a snipe was made. But this 1,000 milliseconds, that seems too much. Oh no, I guess that's. Oh, okay. So we go for each command, and then we find the first report that we received after the command, and then the first report that we received before the command. And if. Okay, one moment. And if. Right, if the two surrounding reports were close to each other, and I think if the second report had a noble, then it would be detected as a snipe. I think that's it. Go through all the reports that have nobles as attacks, find the command to those villages, the support commands, and then find the surrounding reports for those given commands. And if the surrounding reports were nobles, then the support command presumably would have been a snipe, and so then we treat it as a snipe. So that's what that's doing there. Stuff is going on in the background. Just got food. Let's see. What else? Sticks open. I'm eating now. I'm still going through, but eating, so. Well, anyway. I think that's everything so far, except for the other stuff that I wanted to go over. Yeah, I'll consider that everything for now. I don't think there's anything else that I really wanted to. All of that stuff. Yep, CSV stuff. Oh yeah, the translations editor. This is a pain in the butt. But it works. That's what matters. Okay. So I guess I'll go over two other things, the two last things. First was importing CSV dumps. So those translations and whatnot, importing those. So we can do this. I know we can do this with pgAdmin. So, for example, let's look at at languages. Is there like an insert? Import? Yes. And import. Vault. Jesus, this UI sucks. Oh wow. Dump. B. Language. No. Don't replace. Oh, that's export. Import. Oh. Okay, good. So the world CSV and world settings CSVs, those probably aren't super useful. I mean, they'd mostly be useful for if you wanted to have another public vault supporting all of the different languages and different servers. And these two files would have the default translation and time zones for those. So this is what you'd want to have if you wanted to support languages other than English, and if you had a bunch of other translations, and if you needed to figure out what the right time zone and default translation and whatnot were for different worlds or servers or whatever. Here I just wanted the language, so languages, we'll import those, and it's probably not going to work properly. Yeah, failed. Yep, duplicate key. Yeah. So importing this stuff should be straightforward, but it's not because the IDs are already in use. So we can select that, we can delete that, apply, and then we'll just now that I've deleted the other data, I can now import this language, that, okay. All right. The ID1 already exists. Wait a second, did it not delete because of the foreign key constraints? It did not because of the foreign key constraints. Well, that's annoying. So in that case, it looks like we're going to have to clear out these tables manually. So I think that's just delete from feature.translation. That's it. Pretty sure that's it. So that's going to get rid of the translation data, delete from feature.translation render. Oh, it didn't run. Whoops. Move. What's all this crap? Don't save. Move. 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 And where's the, oh, it's this. Yep, there we go. Okay, delete from that, delete from translation parameter, delete that, delete translation key, delete that, registry, oh, right, left. Okay, so to import this, you would need to import this before adding any world data. So you'd need to create the database, initialize it, and then do this data deletion and reinsertion. And then after all of that, then you can, add whatever worlds, add whatever other stuff you want. Maybe. Hold up, let me see. Is there seed data? Scaffold, seed, settings. Okay, right. Okay, yeah, that should be fine. Okay. Create the database, initialize it, delete the data, and insert the stuff from the CSVs, and then you can do whatever else you want. But for me, since I already created a bunch of data, nah, I'm not gonna, whatever. You can just take my word for it. Those are the steps required. The only other complication after inserting all of that data is that the internal counters within the database that it uses to generate new IDs, if you insert data, then those internal counters won't get updated. And then if you try to use the vault normally, say, for example, we insert a bunch of translation stuff, and then, oh, I want to go and make my own translation, it's going to use one of the IDs that had already been used because we inserted all this stuff before. And normally that's not a problem because the database tracks what's the next valid ID we can use. But since we inserted the stuff directly, it didn't update that. So after you insert all this custom stuff, then you have to go to, let's see, expand this. That triggers. Where was it? It's sequences. That's what it was. So after you insert stuff, you just have to go to the sequence. Can I properties definition? Right, and then you can just change the current value, like 10, whatever the last ID is, or maybe just give it 1,000 just to be safe. But yeah, that's really the only other complication there. So for CSV dumps, and then let's make a new migration. Okay, so let's say we've got. No, how did this work? That's font context. We'll go in here. We will. Let's. Freaking no. I don't know. Let's rename this. The terrible migration. You wouldn't actually want to do that, but whatever. We'll do it that way. Okay. So now we've got a new vault context. We've got new database stuff that needs to be applied. We've got a new migration that needs to be made to apply it. Now, as with any good programming effort, we first start with Google. So we want EF Core migrations. EF Core, it's Entity Framework Core. Entity Framework is a Microsoft database utility thing. That's what the Vault uses. So let me go here. I'm going to need to do some stuff with the terminal. Do I have .NET EF? .NET EF? Oh, first I need to install the tools. Very first, this. Okay, grab this. Add EF migrations list. Oh, whoops. I'm doing this in a different window. List. Migrations. Okay. That detected the existing migrations just fine. .NET EF migrations add. That it? Oh, whoops. Project to .vault. Migration. I thought there was some other thing I needed to change. Done. It says done. Okay. It says it's done. But is it actually done? If we look at the migration, go to migrations, test. Oh, hey. Sweet. Well, all right. It looked, I think that's fine. I was not expecting to see a bunch of other data that had already been in here before. I also did not expect to see this error message. Is this gonna, is a namespace but use like a type? Oh, right. Yeah, we gotta, that's builds. Okay. Well, second database. TW.Vault, save. Then I will try running this. Database equals vault 2. Yes. Well, let's see if it runs. Nope, because I did not change the right thing. Whoops. I mean, it did run, but it ran the wrong thing. Migrations, yes. Well, alrighty. And then if we go back, so what did I change? What was the stupid change that I made? Report building has column name world ID 2. Okay, refresh. Schemas, TW, tables, report building. That's properties, columns. Hey, okay, cool. I was expecting more work, but nice, I'll take it. Cool. And that's it. I didn't expect it to be that easy. All right, well, I guess that's the last thing I wanted to go over, and that's all I've got. I'll probably look over the stream again later and try to put it into like a text document thing, but we'll see how that goes. At the very least, I'll be keeping this video around, and hopefully it doesn't get archived. If it does, I've got the recordings locally, and I can upload elsewhere, so. But, yep, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. GG's.